Thank you very much, guys. It was really a warm welcome. Today's topic is really a very good learning. While researching on it, I was revising all my concepts. So just say a quick yes by anyone by just turning on the mic and we can start because I cannot see the chat section for now.
Yes.
All right, let's start. Topic is very vast. I am sure that you guys are from an engineering background. Probably there is some mixed background crowd also today, but I would expect that at least you have heard this word open source at some point of time. Now, when we see open, or you say when we see, we have heard this name probably many a times in the coding challenges, that source code, or when you say the compiler code, interpreter code. So, what exactly is this like? Why open source is something that is also a very good market, why it is in demand, and why today technologists are still supporting open source. That's a very big question. So today's session we will start with who was the founder, who was actually the pioneer in finding this open source route, who was the one who initiated the open source movement. Later, we will be jumping on to understand how open source actually benefits all, from might it be small businesses, government organizations, or you say how it is actually creating an impact for the ones who do not have much budget at this point, but it has really humongous features. If we start off the whole day would also not, you say, help us to cover all the points, but I have tried my best to at least give you some highlights, a glimpse of what open source power is, and believe me or not, if you want to connect it with your regular routine example, you could say that open source is like a library where everything is like already defined, everything is stored. Probably it is in the older format, like a print format, and nowadays whatever softwares we use are closed source. So due to which we do not get a chance to you say snoop into it, probably work on it, modify it, experience, and learn from it. So that is the reason open source is very much important. If we say that we should read books just to not just to read it, but also to understand and to try something new. Similarly, when we study open source codes and softwares, we would get an understanding that how exactly software development life cycle goes, what exact features it can have, and what are the characteristics, what all you say functionalities that we would get. Now, mind me saying, when we move ahead, first thing that I want to clear, nothing in this world is free. If anything is free, you are the product. And if even if we are pitching on free and open source softwares today, it has its agenda to promote, you say, open source learning and all. So everything has a motive. But the learning that we are going to get today is something that will really benefit the learner background, students, researchers, and educators across the globe. So let's get started. I will have a 30-second video that's coming up, which is created using an open source software. So over to you. It's my introduction video. This video actually gave you a glimpse of what all I do, and the best part was like the technology which I use to create this video or a visual graphic with a very good background score is FOSS, that is free and open source software. So it comes under the open source initiative. You can also term it as OSI. Now I would ask you guys to just any one of you to just turn on the mic and say what do you think that this logo exactly specifies. So anyone from the audience, anyone can turn on the mic and say what do you think of this logo, what is exactly it trying to signify.
Can you type?
Yes, perfect, perfect. Very good. So the OSI logo, or you call it the open source initiative logo, combines a keyhole for unlocking source code. So that's the idea behind that logo. Now there are two terminologies that we are going to understand. One is a free software, another is an open source software. So now here you can just read the content. Now you will come across a name again and again when you search or you work on with open source, and the name is Mr. Richard Stallman. So he is the founder of free and open source moment, and he has dedicated his whole life to the open source initiative, promoting open source technologies, softwares, and all. So you can call him like the father of open source moment. And there are two terms now. As I said, free have you say limited time durability. It can be free for lifetime. It can have some restricted features. So now we have to understand the different categories. And open source is something where you get to work on the code. Now, a very good example is Handbrake. Now, Handbrake is a video editing, video compression, video editing software where you can change the formats for a video, or you can just transform it into different kind of audio formats and all. So it's like a conversion software. Now, if I say it is free, it is because it gives you all the functionalities for free. There is no pro version as such or premium version as such in terms of Handbrake, and it can handle even a big file. So yes, it is very good in terms of quality. You saw the video which we just had in the previous screen, and I created it using Handbrake also. So it is giving me the access to all the features free of cost. That is a free software. Now, the second very good example, if you have tried archive program like WinZip. So now WinZip has a trial. Now they will give you a trial period of around 21 days, and you can have some limited archives to open. And once you cross that limit, it will ask you to upgrade to pro version, or else it's like it's of no use. So again, you got to use the functionalities for free for some limited amount of time, limited period, and later they have like now asked you to pay something for it. There are different packages. Again, here free functionalities are not much up to the mark, so you have to upgrade. That's one choice. And lastly, there is a proprietary software where you need to pay. In case you want to use Microsoft Office, you have to pay them the license fees. In case you want to use Microsoft Windows 11, 10, you will have to pay them the software fees, of course. So it is a proprietary software. Apart from that, the next type of software that we are going to explore more today is open source software, where you get to access the original source code. And here now, when you talk about proprietary software, is completely you say it is open. Like you can view the code, you can understand what things are happening, what is at the back end, front end, what the kernel is. All that stuff is visible to anyone. Anyone can access it who has you say expertise in the coding, or you say create development phase. They can understand it because it is available to the user. Secondly, you can modify, you can create, you can update the source code. So there are four freedoms which will come into picture ahead. We will discuss it ahead. So as I mentioned already, software will be having two parts, that is proprietary, second is open source. So four freedoms. So four freedoms by which Richard Stallman also mentioned in his TED talk. Those are freedom zero says to run. So you can run the software for free. You can use it for free. Second is you can study, you can modify, you can research, you can like reverse engineer, you can understand and improve it, share it. So these are the four freedoms which are like taken into consideration whenever we talk about open source softwares. So what are the benefits? Why should we switch to open source? The very first thing is freedom. What freedom from what? Now what happens when we have a proprietary software? Only two things can happen in terms of computing. Either you control the program or the program controls you. Am I right? So in case now, if you are controlling the program, it's giving me complete access over the software. But if I talk about Windows, in case, or WinZip, here, if I'm not paying, if I'm not upgrading, it is constantly giving me a message that you have to upgrade, you have to pay this much amount to do this. Also, at times, many softwares track what exactly you do. In case you have, and you know how Google tracks our data, wherever you go, whatever locations you visit, everything is like mapped in terms of coordinates and all. So now it is like invasion of my privacy. It's like I am not willing to share this, but I have to do it because I have to use their feature. So now here, the company or the proprietary company, the one who is giving me that service or product, is controlling me by giving me offers, giving me some kind of, you say, benefits and all, just to increase their benefits, their sales. But this is not the case in open source. So freedom. Second is quality. The quality is so important today that you see, like I'm not like promoting any, but if you see high-end products and if you see freeware products, of course the high-end products have a better UI, they have better functions, and that's the reason we believe like, yeah, it's good to switch to those products. But when we think of quality, and when there are a lot much of contributors across the globe, so open source is the thing where you get to see different versions, or you say different permutations and combinations of the same software, the same program or same project. So that's why quality, and the third part also goes hand in hand, that's flexibility. Because the core source code is accessible to you, probably if you are good with you say cloud functionalities and all, I'm good with big data, someone else is good with integrating cross platform applications. So when we all three come together, we collaborate, we create an environment that will really benefit the overall software development process. And here I'm not getting restricted, because there is no specific company, no law that is like restricting me. Of course, there are copyright laws, and there are different Apache licenses, GPL, that we also go into that. But I have the freedom to flexibly enhance the quality, and I have the freedom to modify it. That is more important to me. Next comes security. Why security? If you have heard about DoD, Department of Defense, in US, they like had this open source idea in them, and they use it for the defense systems and all. Still, many companies are using open source Ubuntu, if you have heard the name, in their process, or Linux-based systems, Linux-based kernels. Why is it? Because it is very safe compared to the other competitors. And second, as I said, it's like a big library. When you compare it with today's other competitors, when you have a whole library, why would you just switch to something that is restricting me from doing the amount of work or the kind of work I want to do? So that's about security. And support options, as I mentioned, because it's a big library, many contributors. So the opportunities, or you say the possibilities, are endless. So that's about open source benefits. These were the freedoms which I just mentioned. So you have the freedom to run, you have the freedom to change the program, you have the freedom to redistribute copies, and you have the freedom to redistribute your modified copies also. So these are the 4 freedoms. And we discussed this, like free software is given just for free, for maybe for a trial period, or with you say some limited functionality, or the complete functionality. And the open source software is like completely open, you can use it, and there is no restriction as such. And open source organizations, in order to survive, sometimes expect that you can contribute either in terms of the code software, or else like in terms of some donation. So donation does not just apply to monetary donations. Here donation would also apply to the kind of contribution, being a developer, being a technical person, you can do in the open source field. So this was about the part. And I mentioned some licenses, right? So every software comes with a license. You remember that whenever you sign in, or whenever you try to install any software, it will ask you to accept the terms and conditions. So what are these terms and conditions? In those terms and conditions, privacy policies, everything is mentioned, that how you can actually redistribute it, what exactly are the restrictions legally, what legal you say factors I have to consider while sharing or probably utilizing that particular service or product. So there are different open source licenses that come into picture now. It's a very big topic if we just enter into licenses, but for now, I want you all to understand that there are different licenses, and some very popularly known open source licenses are MIT GPL, Apache GPL, BSD, LGPL. So don't worry much about the names. These you can just, whenever you go for any open source development, and nowadays we use GitHub for it. So on GitHub you would get a complete understanding that what license you should use for the software or type of product you are going to build. So don't worry, but just to keep in mind, everything is protected under some or the other license. Even if like it is completely given out to you, there are some bounds that restrict you from making it completely business oriented. You can use it, but then there are enterprise versions for it. So we will understand that when we move ahead. Now let's take an example, like how open source software is and what exactly we can do with open source. So there's one more word that you all would have heard at some point, that's libre. So now free or libre, sometimes FOSS is also referred to be as FLOSS, that is free, libre, open source software. It is also like resonating with the similar idea of giving people the freedom to modify, to understand, to run different softwares and products, because not everyone has that great amount of background in terms of money, I would use resources. And the idea with FOSS or FLOSS is to benefit and create a greater good for everyone who's using technology. All right. So I hope I'm completely clear till now. Do you guys have any doubts? Please turn on the mic and ask me, because after this we'll have an activity.
No doubts.
Fine. So now let's relate it to one very good example. For example, okay. Now you want to like develop some product. This is the final finished product. All right. You are at this stage, and you see that probably I should start. So you start at any point. Probably you have the idea. You search for code, and you go and find it on the web. You try to read some books and think of like building a software that would automate some system. For example, we say ticket booking system. So now you want to build this software, but there are already you say different very good softwares available in the open source market. So you think like why should I take that much of pain to like completely build it from scratch? Why not I take something from the open source and I modify it according to my branding? For example, if I want to do it for MMR, that is Mumbai Metropolitan Region, let's do one thing. I will just rename the some part. I will change some UI, and yes, that would like help me to get my target done. All right. So now what first thing I would do, I'll search for the code on the web, probably on GitHub and other platforms where we get to have the open source codes. There, then I would check that which is the best design, or which is the best kind of software that actually is matching my criterion and my requirements. Later, what I would do, I would go and I would on the repository, whenever we access any code in terms of GitHub, we call it a repository. So from the repository, I'll try to like run it, preview it. If I'm convinced, if I'm okay with the kind of UI or interface that I'm seeing, then I'll think of what all changes I would need to make and how much time would it take. So for that, I will create a Gantt chart. That Gantt chart will give me a complete understanding that, yeah, for example, if I start with my software development life cycle, not exactly a complete development, it's like a software modification life cycle in terms of open source. So how much time would it require to incorporate all the changes and keep it like a finished product? Now here I see that I am projecting around 2 months, 60 days to finish the product. Now I start. What I'll go there, I'll see, yeah, okay, I download the code. Now after downloading the code, I wanted to like induce some more functionalities. I start building those functionalities. And I like when you send the code back to the main contributor, the one who made it, if that is accepted, that's fine. If not, then it will be forked out. Forking, you'll understand the concept ahead. Forking is taking out modification and creating the product of your own. But there are restrictions, copyrights, there are licenses that come into picture during this whole scenario. So you will have to sign up for some terms and conditions about the uses and use cases of the software. Once I build it, I test it, and after the testing phase, I have the finished product that is, yes, that is working. So I'll have to like create a prototype at the point, and during the development process, in case if there are any bugs, so I would see the bugs, I would fix it, I would try it with some group of people. I'll ask them to contribute in case if they feel that something can be modified in terms of interface or the functionalities. And finally, after you say the constant cycle of development, redevelopment, testing, re-engineering, I would come to the final product, and that product is the software which we were intending to make. So this is how a floss cycle will go. And before that, now let me come to the meeting and see. Just a second. I hope you guys can see me. So till now, is there any doubt that you guys want to ask? Because then we have to jump on to one very good understanding, a very good example, and it's a short video from Intel. So anything to like ask on? Guys, the chat is open for you now. You can raise hand. No, sir. You can type. Yeah, definitely, Siddhi. That's right. All right. No problem. Am I going too fast? I would like to see yes, no in the chat. If it's fast, I'll slow down. If it's slow, I'll fast it up, pace it up. No, all okay. Fine. So let's go ahead with a very good, interesting video. And this video will actually walk you through the concepts like forking or giving back to the main contributor and all that stuff. So presenting the original video from Intel. So it creates a processor chips and all. You know the company. Let's start. Yeah.
Most people understand that open source software is software copied for free. What's less understood is how the potential chaos of all these copies can be transformed into a collaborative whole. Let's break down how open source works, using a family cookie recipe as a metaphor we can all relate to. Just like code, all recipes start by somebody writing the original version. In this case, Grandma May has developed a delicious cookie recipe. She shares it with her family, telling them they can use her recipe as long as they follow her rules. In Grandma May's case, anyone who bakes cookies with her recipe has to credit her as the author. And if they make changes to her recipe, she has to be allowed to use those changes in future versions of the recipe. The same thing happens when someone writes and publishes an original version of open source software. They put rules called licenses in place so that others can use and change the code they've written as long as they follow the author's license. Grandma May's recipe provides her family with a place to start that they can customize to their own liking. Aunt Maria decided to add chocolate chips to her batch of cookies. In software, this departure from the original code is called a branch. Aunt Maria's change was such a great success with everyone who tasted the cookies that she asked Grandma May to add chocolate chips to her original recipe. At this point, Grandma May needs to begin acting as a maintainer, looking after the integrity of the original recipe and deciding which changes she will incorporate. In this case, Grandma May agreed that the chocolate chips were a good addition, and so from then on, Grandma May's recipe included chocolate chips. Aunt Maria is now a contributor because she has contributed something to the recipe. In open source software development, this process of incorporating a change or patch into the original code is called upstreaming because it's flowing back to the original source. If the original brand of chocolate chips becomes unavailable, Grandma May is responsible for updating the upstream chocolate chip patch with a new brand because she accepted the patch. The benefits of incorporating your changes into the original recipe are pretty amazing, leading to the popular open source motto, upstream early and often. The sooner you upstream, the sooner the community can back you up, not only by maintaining the recipe, but also by testing it in as many configurations as there are community members using it.
Guys, are we with the video? Any doubts till now? Are we with the video? So till now, we whatever we discussed. Okay, we have one question: can we make our own app with modifications using open source code? Yes, Ramesh, we can do that. So, is there any other question? Yes, it best explains OSS. Yes, that's true. And we have only covered the half part of the video. We'll be jumping on more. But before that, I wanted to ask the process in which a contributor gives something and it is accepted by the owner or the creator. What's that process called? So I would like to see the answers in the chat section now. I repeat the question: the process in which if a contributor contributes something that is accepted by the original owner or the creator. So what is that process called? So the chats, okay, we have the question, Prakash, but just let's finish this question for now. You can just type in the option answers in the chat section. Yes, we will go in the licenses part. Branch is something where you start contributing, but I asked about the process. No. We did not even start with forking, Mridul. Contribution, okay, but there was a very good word. No, not merging too. I will give you a hint. It starts with U. So it was a process. Upstreaming. Yes. Now Sakshi has got it right. So the process, if you saw, there was one part where they showed that when you start contributing, it's like you become a contributor. But when you send it back to the owner and if the owner accepts it, then it is called as upstreaming. So the host for today kindly marks Sakshi as the winner for the first question. And yes, that's right. So let's move ahead. So we all are with the session, right? I would like to see a quick yes in the chat section now. Only 1, 2, come on, at least 10. Yeah. Now that is inducing some kind of energy. I hope it's not getting too stretched, too difficult. And yes, got it. Thank you very much, guys. Keep asking questions. Let's learn something together. Now, the next part of the video will show like how, in case in case if it happens that the contributor is not accepting the change, so what will happen? Now in this case, grandma may accepted the change, and so it was okay, it was taken, and the process was known as upstreaming. But now there's another part that comes into forking. So let's understand what forking is. I will take you to the video once again.
Uncle Miles went out on a limb and added peanut butter and nuts to his batch of cookies. His wife and friends all love peanut butter, so they thought his additions greatly improved the original recipe. But when Uncle Miles tried to upstream his nutty changes, Grandma May, who detests peanut butter, refused to add peanut butter and nuts to her recipe. Uncle Miles resolved to move on with his version of the recipe with no plans of merging the two again at any point. In open source software development, a permanent split like this is called a fork. Grandma May's recipe is getting better all the time as people continue to contribute. Her family gets to learn from and enjoy the latest and newest cookie recipes as they are created. As Grandma May's family grows and her recipe is shared outside the family, more and more people will become contributors. As you can imagine, things could get pretty complicated for Grandma May as the maintainer of the original recipe with more contributors. The same is true for open source software. More contributors and more versions of code make it essential that we have a way of collaborating on changes. This is why we need the structure, common language, and roles we just talked about with our recipe example. Now let's recap really quickly. Someone writes an original version of the open source software. They set rules around how it can be used and changed called licenses. This gives contributors a starting point to then branch out from and make changes or patches. Some request their changes to be upstreamed to merge their new version with the original version. If the maintainer decides to incorporate the change, it becomes part of the main branch and will be maintained by the community even if the contributor stops being involved in the project. Sometimes, software is taken in a direction that we know will not be incorporated back into the original version. This kind of permanent split is called a fork. Open source has the potential to be complicated because it's created by communities of people. But these ways of working manage those communities, making it possible to benefit from new versions from an authoritative source, the maintainer. Actual products based on open source can be made up of dozens, even hundreds of recipes like Grandma May's, which is why having a disciplined way of managing change is so important. In open source, the possibilities are endless, but we need the rules and roles to keep things organized.
Yes, so I hope that it really helped you to understand what exactly I'm trying to convey. And now open for questions. So a quick question again. In case if I'm not ready to incorporate the change that a contributor has made, so what is the process called?
It's forking.
So guys, forking, perfect. Got it. And like in case if there's any point where you feel that yes, it is very important, just click a screenshot and pass it on all your social handles with a hashtag of FOSS or free and open source. That really benefits the community, and because it is giving us so endless possibilities, so better if we also be a small part and contributing to it back to the same. Any questions till now, guys? I hope the learning journey is good. We are halfway to the session. Okay. I hope everything is clear till now. Now what we are going to learn ahead, please explain more on forking. Okay, for example, you are a software creator. You are the first one who created any product, or you say software. Okay. Now here, in case I am a contributor, I thought like probably your software lacks some functionality. I created a new function and I shared it with you. So I was a contributor. I gave it to you. And you checked and you tried it, incorporating it with your software, but you felt that no, that this function is not that required, or probably it is not up to the mark. Now here, what you would think is that I don't want this function. So if probably I have to have my own version of software, so let's better split our ways. So now what happens? You have your own version of software and you are not ready to accept my change in your software. So here I want to stick to my change and you want to stick to your own version of software. So here we have two different paths going on. So the one which you already have is belonging to you, and the second one which I am creating is a fork. So I hope I have cleared the doubt for you. Yeah,
Yes,
Girija?
yes. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, all right. So let's go ahead, deep dive into the characteristics of FOSS. Now, today's session, we have to also understand what different tools we can use and apps we can use. Got it, guys? So let's start from the current slide. From the video, we got it that yes, it is often built collaboratively via internet, of course, and it will help us. We will find a lot of FOSS content coming up from, you say, NGOs, or you say at times from also from the government organizations, because depending upon the kind of solution they're using, maybe a cloud solution or a software, it varies. Then you don't have to pay for upgrades. That's the best thing about FOSS. So in case if you want to switch from the current operating system, for example, Windows 10 to Windows 11, you don't have to pay anything now, because they have also kept it in the similar manner. But in terms, if I talk about Ubuntu or Fedora, these free operating systems, you don't even have to spare a single penny in order to upgrade to the full version or the premium version of their software. So that's the best part. We'll understand that ahead. And here, the only thing is that there is no one in particular. Like, for example, you like Apple products, you know the company is Apple. For example, you like Microsoft, you know the company is Microsoft. But in case of open source, the only catch is there are multiple contributors across the globe. So there's no one specific company, or you say one specific entity that comes into picture when I talk about the software product or service. And that's the reason here you will find diversity, but there is no one actually who can be held responsible either for the success or failure, because everybody is contributing. I hope it's like connecting with you, and I'm able to give you that. Here in open source, we all are contributors. Like, whoever gives and whoever uses, all of us are like, probably I'm not a coder and still I'm using the software. I have some kind of a perception about the software here, that this functionality is not up to the mark, or this is not working fine in terms of my business. So I will share it like a feedback. Then the developers team or the community will work on it, and they will enhance the feature in the next upgrade. That's the reason we are getting constant upgrades. So even it does not matter if you are from the technical background or not. Even if you're from the business background, or if you're using that service or software or product, your feedback is taken into consideration in order to enhance the experience ahead for the users. Got it? That is why feedback is important. And I'll also be asking you the feedback about our today's session during the conclusion part, so that I also get a chance to enhance our experience ahead. And many companies are also smart enough to take the open source use model and modify it according to their own use, according to their own need. So we get to see some organizations. Now, there are 5 FOSS organizations. Whenever we talk about free and open source softwares, there are 5 organizations which are actually widely accepted, known for their incredible work in the field of open source. The very first is GNU Project, GNU.org. You can just click a screenshot of this screen, because these will definitely give you a lot much of resources. Probably many of these I was not aware of, but when I started during my initial days, I researched a lot on these, and I found that yes, these are really beneficial. These are giving me the flexibility to research, run, try, modify, and experiment on different softwares. So just you can have this part, and these are the logos in case you want to just have a click. So here the possibilities are endless, as the video also conveyed the same. So you can just have a snap of this and share it across, so that it benefits the open source communities ahead. I'll move ahead now. So very popular name, in case if you have heard of it, very good. If you have not heard of it, still it's okay. The operating system. Now, simple question, we all use Windows or Mac operating systems on our desktop PC or laptop. But for that, we have to pay something. In case of Windows, we have to pay something. In case of Apple Mac operating system, it comes and it runs only in the machine that Apple gives us. And if we try to break it down by using some hacking or ethical hacking techniques, it's Hackintosh, it's not Macintosh. So let's not go there. But if I talk about genuine software, genuine operating systems, it's Ubuntu operating system. It's a Linux-based operating system, which is like very good for organizations, schools, and all. The interface might not be, if you compare it with Mac or Windows, it's not that good, but functionalities are superb. Like, it can beat a Mac and Windows at many points, because it is based with that library understanding. And when we compare it to closed source softwares, there are restrictions which we would face when we jump onto that. And the second one, the very popular one, which again is used in a lot of corporate companies, is Fedora. So you see the interfaces. I've tried to have a screenshot of the screens from different devices. So Ubuntu's latest version is 20.4. You can directly install it. You need to download it, and then you'll have to boot it. I'll show you one booting software also, that's Rufus, by which you can boot into Ubuntu. Then second is Fedora. Fedora is like another very popular operating system, and it can be used by a wide range of people, maybe students, universities, libraries, and all, to like save costs and of course get a very good secure kind of an environment. So no need of like worrying much in terms of operating systems. Now, in case of mobile devices, Android is very popular. In case of, you say, even in our cars nowadays, we have the Android operating system. So we are very familiar with this kind of an interface. The Android users actually are. So you know what Android can do. But the operating system, again, is this is developed by Google, but it is based on the Linux kernel and other open source software. So it's like a modified version. So it is very good for web application, gaming, productivity, and all that stuff. So if you notice, in all your Android phones, there can be some variations made probably in terms of icons, or you say the placement of features, but it runs on the Android operating system at whole. All right, the latest version is Android 11. So previously we had a very good chronology of you say Pi, Oreo, Nougat, and all, but now they have started naming it like number wise. So it's Android 11 now. Now, when we talk about any system or any product, any tool, what we think of is like a software that can run other software. So we discussed about operating systems, but now whenever we think of a computer, two things that come into mind is an operating system and an office. When you think of Windows, you know the terms that resonate in your mind are Microsoft Windows Activation License, and second is Microsoft Office. Similar to that, in case of open source, I think someone has turned on his or her mic. Do we have any question here? Thank you. So as I said, we always Word, Excel, PowerPoint, because Microsoft has like created it so well that we always think of them. We don't even know that there are other options for Office that are available in the market. So in terms of open source, as I said, if you have Ubuntu for Windows, you can have LibreOffice for Microsoft Office. A very popular name. I said that the term Libre will come ahead when we go ahead in the session today, because LibreOffice is a free office. It also has all the similar functionalities. Just like Word, it has you say a tool that from which you can edit documents. You have there in Excel, you have Excel there. In terms of Google, you have Google Sheets. Here also you have spreadsheets. In terms of PowerPoint, if you need, you'll have another set of tools to present and all. So again, Access, mathematical, database, calculations. So whatever functionalities you see in Windows, similar tools are here in LibreOffice. And LibreOffice is in the market even like since long. So many people have used it, contributed to it, and it is like a mixed and a very in-depth version. So all your Excel formulas and all will also work here. Even if you use some other kind of you say cloud software, like for example, not software, Google Sheets and all, so you can use it there, and all the functions and all, everything is possible in case of LibreOffice. Second is Apache OpenOffice. Now this office is good for you say very small scale businesses. It's not that interface heavy. It's light, so it can run on light weight machines. You don't need 8 GB RAM to run it. You can run it on even a 2 GB RAM. And a SoftMaker Online Office. Now, this SoftMaker Online Office has a catch. You will get it free for some time, but later it asks for like an upgrade. So it's like some part of mixed. It is like a mixed version of open source and paid source, so like proprietary. So that's about the offices. Do we have any questions till now, guys? We discussed 2 points. One was operating systems, and second was the productivity office suites. Can we move ahead? I would like to have a quick yes from any one of you.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next comes into picture is collaboration. Nowadays, we all know we are working from home. and we generally tend to use tools like Microsoft Teams and other paid versions where you are restricted to amount of users and functions, right? But we anyways hardly work in teams of 10 or 15 people, so we are okay with the restrictions also. But in case if you want to work with cross-functional teams of maybe around 100 plus people, 200 plus people, now what would you do? When you think on a bigger picture, broader picture, so there are FOSS open source, like FOSS collaboration softwares. Why collaboration is necessary is like clear from this picture. This image is self-explanatory. But in terms of boosting collaboration, so that you won't need to pay much for the software, there are different softwares which are available. The very first is Collab Community. So the name itself is like self-explanatory, which says you can collaborate and in a community, and you can work around. Next is Open Project. Third is Collaborative. Fourth is Group Office. Fifth is Syn.in. Sixth is EXO, and seventh is OpenPass. So again, if you need a screenshot, you can have a screenshot of this. This is probably not much known to everyone. So you can try any of these, and it will help you in terms of collaboration and productivity enhancement. So these are the FOSS open source collaboration softwares. Next in term, now, why are these names here? I know the primary question can be, if someone is coming from a cybersecurity or you say ethical hacking background, they would think that why are these names here? So the first thing that I want to mention here is these are built using open source technologies. These have a background of open source, and that is the reason they promote privacy. So you know the names already. That is DuckDuckGo, Startpage, Quant, SearchX, and Search Encrypt. So the main agenda, because now we are discussing about computing technology in an open source format, so I have also tried to include some examples which are created using open source, some projects which are created using open source. So here, the best part about these search engines is that the search engines do not track you. They will not record or collect your search history or data. So it is like benefiting me from keeping myself secure. Okay, and each of these will have multiple features you can try once you start exploring it. All right. Next comes web browsers. Again, people from cybersecurity space would say, yeah, why is it here? So Mozilla Firefox and WaterFox, if you see the names, both end with Fox, and one specifies fire, other specifies water. So both of these are open source projects, and that's the reason still many people prefer Mozilla Firefox over Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. It's because of its robustness, it's because of its functionality, it's because of its security and privacy. Apart from that, if you are good with cyberspace, you know Tor and Brave, and Iridium is another browser which is like built with open source concepts. So functionalities again to protect are fantastic. In case you need a screenshot, you can have it right away. Any doubts till now, guys? Now we discussed about web browsers and search engines, and mind me, both of them are not the same. You use Google as a search engine, and you use a Google Chrome as a web browser. So both are different. Just have a screenshot of this if you need it. Next part is programming languages. Now, if you want to build something, you want to know that what kind of a programming language should I switch to. And believe me, mostly all programming languages are open source, because there's nothing as such to keep in a closed that can be kept in a closed source as such. Even the Apple's programming language, so it's Swift. So even that is made it is open for everyone to experiment and work on. The software that they build is closed source, but of course the language that they are using is open source. So again, this snippet is like fantastic. That gives you an idea of different languages, and all are like mostly supporting free and open source development. The idea is that to increase the probability of combinations of softwares to create fantastic interfaces and really useful softwares. So they have kept all the languages open to all, so that people can learn and try different patterns depending upon the different demographics, and come up with something that would really benefit the overall society. Next is a very popular concept. If someone again is from cyberspace would say this is like a revision for them. So VPN, virtual private networks. So if you see the graphic at the bottom, you would see that there's like a VPN secret tunnel, So no one is able to see what exactly are you searching or what are you working on. So this is better, so that if you see this image, you see you are on a computer and there's a secret tunnel. The tunnel, you say explanation is this, and it goes to the VPN, and through the VPN it is searched on the internet, which is open, and again from the internet it goes back from the tunnel. So if a hacker or snooper is trying to understand what all activities you're doing, so the person won't be able to make out, because it is going through a secret tunnel. Okay, so that is the concept of VPN, and you see that everything is encrypted, so no one can see, monitoring authorities or you say anyone. If a hacker, malicious attacker is trying to snoop into my privacy, he or she won't be able to get in, because I am already secure using a VPN. Now, there's one misconception again about VPNs, that all VPNs are safe. So please make sure you understand the concept and then go into it, because many VPN providers will provide you with a free VPN. So you think that, yes, I have got a very good VPN solution for free. But if, as I said, nothing is free in this world, so there is some agenda behind it. You never know if that free VPN feature is like leaking out your data. So you need to be sure in terms of like what VPN service you select. And the best option that I can recommend you is OpenVPN. This comes from an open source community again. It resonates with the idea of privacy, security, and community building. So OpenVPN is easy to install. It's easy to access. You can switch to OpenVPN. Apart from that, there are different open source VPNs which are available. Second is Pritinal. Third, WireGuard. And these are not the, you say, chronological orders. I have just kept them so that it looks good in terms of design. The best preferred one is OpenVPN in terms of all functionalities and features. So that's it. Then FreeLAN, LibreSwan, OpenSwan, StrongSwan, and ProtonVPN. Now, ProtonVPN is not actually an open source VPN, but I have included it here because it's easy to use, it's easy to install, it's cross-functional, it works on different devices easily, and the free function is enough if you are just a single user or probably using it on a couple of machines, because it's fantastic. So ProtonVPN and OpenVPN I would recommend, and the open source VPN, if I talk about only the open source VPN, it's OpenVPN. I hope we are on the same page, guys. Any questions till now? Should I come back to the meeting for some time? Guys, do we have any questions till now? We have 89 participants. Super. I'm happy to see that number is going up. It's not going low as such. So fantastic. We have a mic on. Guys, please mention your chats in the chat box. Okay. Thanks, Rajas. How will we know if a particular repository is authentic? Okay. So on GitHub, Giriza, everybody has an account. I hope you have heard the name GitHub. GitHub is a place where we all share code and we contribute, we work with different people in terms of development and all that stuff. So it's for like developers, you say Instagram, where we share our projects and all. Okay, when you see like a person has contributed something, you can preview the version of it, like whatever the product is created or you say code is written, you can preview it by running it on a local host. And also at times you say GitHub also scans your code in case if there's anything that is not required, just like our Windows scanner and all. So it removes the unwanted part, malicious part, which can risk any other's user environment. So better if we like first thing is about like you will have access to the account. Like you will see who has contributed, who has made it, when was the repository made, by whom and what mail address, because on GitHub when you go it will ask you to validate everything like your credentials and all. So first thing about anonymity is like met up. Second is about security. GitHub itself is smart enough to like detect if there's any flaw or in case a risk that is involved in terms of code and all. So I think that will answer the question. Got it, Girija?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Sir, can you explain GitHub license? Yeah, Bhavik. So see, on GitHub, when you go to any, you say account, either if you're a contributor, you will have to sign in for some terms and conditions. If you are if you're the creator, if you are creating a code or you say you're adding your own project there, it will ask you to select the type of license that you want to allow users to select. Now, for example, Bhavik, for example, I have created a software and I allow users to copy the complete code and modify it. And also, if in case they modify it and create it into a good product, they can sell it. So there's one kind of license which comes into picture, that's GPL, that you can use it for small local businesses. Then there's Apache license, which is like open for research purposes. Then there are different other licenses like LGPL, lesser known GPL license. So it's like a big study. I will share you some resources that would help you to understand the different licenses and use cases, so that it becomes easier for you, because it will take us to a completely legal technical background. For now, just understand that on GitHub, when you go, it will walk you through all the types of licenses if you are a creator. And if you are a user, if you are like taking code from someone else, then it will say what all you can do in terms of privacy policy and terms and conditions. All right, Bhavik? Great. How can we publish software without permission of owner? My friend, what kind of software are we talking about? Like, is it like the one which was like, for example, if you took some repository from GitHub and if you start like creating your own version of it, and you will have to send it back to the person. That's what written in the terms and conditions when you download that repository. If you don't accept the terms and condition, then it won't allow you to take the code. All right. And if you try some false means and you try to like get the code, create it as your own repository, GitHub is smart enough to see, like, because you will also upload it some of the at some of the other coding platforms. It will see if the code constraints or everything is matching, and if it is matching, it can ask it can summon you for plagiarism. So it's like you will have to sign up for the license. You will have to go with the legal way. In case you try some false means, the software systems which are like keeping all your code, might it be any platform or any service, they are smart enough to see and carry out regular plagiarism checks, so that the work that an original developer or a creator has done should not be misused, should not be used for only self benefits or personal benefits. It should be for the community. If it is really impacting the community, then it's okay. And still there are restrictions. That's what I'm saying. Like in terms of licenses, you will have to be very sure when you read those licenses with a legal counsel, because if you fail to comply to those, you will be in a very bad position. So that's about it. All right. So now let's jump ahead into the concept of different other tools which will play a very pivotal role ahead. So this was about the VPNs. Next comes a very good question again. My trial period for WinZip has expired. So what should I do? So these are the all options apart from WinZip. If you don't want to try WinZip, you can have any of these options. Just exclude Rufus. Rest others, you can use any of these to archive and get your files extracted and all that stuff. So, and Rufus mentioned, in order to boot your PC into some other operating system or create it like a dual boot, you will need to create your pen drive as a bootable device, and for that Rufus can be very useful. So it compresses the whole operating system file. It is called as an ISO file or RAR file. It compresses it down, and it is like used even without the interface. Like you can create it using the black and white interface or the blue interface when you start the device, and if you just go with some functions, with some controls on your device. If you're using a Mac, it differs, but if you're using a Windows, F8 or F12 are the keys which can be used to boot your device and then like install a new kind of operating system. So Rufus will be beneficial there, and the rest are like the archive programs which would be beneficial in case you want to use something that will help you in terms of compressing and extracting your files. Okay, let's go ahead. SyncThing. Now, the name itself is like very, very to the point. SyncThing is like you want to synchronize your stuff across devices. Now, for example, you want to share some files from Windows to a Mac. You don't need a pen drive. You can use SyncThing. In case you want to share it on different operating systems, not just Windows and Mac, but FreeBSD, Linux, OpenBSD, and all that stuff, you won't need to have physical connections. You can have it with online connections, local hosts, and that is possible using SyncThing. So you can set it up like a local host. If you see the information which I have kept here, so it's relevant to the IP address part, and it helps in terms of compatibility. So you don't need to worry much about how will I share huge files and all. You can use SyncThing to synchronize your things all together. All right. Let's go ahead. Now we are coming towards the conclusion of the session. But before that, I have kept this one you say overview of different tools. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys: are you guys inclined towards animation, or you say creative graphics? If yes, then guys, I have a good addition to you. Just go to Disney's website and select Disney open source. Just search for Disney open source. So Disney allows you to contribute to the open source Disney world, and there are some you say agreements that need to be signed before, but later you can access Disney's assets and you can share your assets to Disney, and this is how you can get an access to very good system. Disney, of course, is one of the very popular name in the animation and software industry, so you can have access to that. Apart from that, Gameloft, EA Sports, Pixar, these are very popular names in terms of gaming and technology. So you can search to the open source sections. You would find it on the website, and at least in the you say sitemap or footer part. Search for it, and you can try their functions to a limited extent. And if possible, if you are really good in terms of creativity, they will allow you to go for the higher versions. So this is one addition. Apart from that, superb software if you want to know for editing, graphics, designing, and all that stuff, 3D designing, mastering, animation, it's Blender, my personal favorite, because it works fantastic. It allows you to create your vision into reality. So Blender is the name. Apart from that, if you want to try something in the editing space, like video editing and all, OpenShot is one example. Olive, this is the logo for Olive. Olive is another example. If you are thinking of creating a CMS, a content management system, or an ERP, enterprise resource planning system, you can switch to these options. You can start building from these options. One is a Drupal, second is WordPress, third is Joomla. So most preferred one, WordPress. This is a familiar name to all of you. It is used for blogging and all that stuff, for websites also, but it's also very capable of handling content management and managing it completely in terms of enterprises and all. So WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal for CMS. In case you need some solution for cloud in terms of open source, then it's OpenStack, the name. For ERP, again, the name is self-explanatory. OpenERP is the name. You need an accounting software which is free of cost. You don't have to pay for you say costly softwares. You can go for Xtuple. Linux, Mozilla Firefox, Android, we already discussed. Apache Office is discussed. SQL, in case you want to go for open source databases, MySQL is a very popular name. Ubuntu for operating system. Java from the programming languages contribution. Then here again, there are some mailing services where, in case of, if we talk about emails and web mails, web mailing services are mostly inclined towards open source. So one example here. Then this is GIMP, that is open source image manipulation program, so which can also be used. GNU image manipulation program, if I coin it right. So this is the logo for it. If you want to edit audio, music, or sound, you can go for Audacity. You want to broadcast some session, probably stream it live on YouTube and other platforms, you can use OBS Studio, Open Broadcaster Studio. Handbrake can, again, I mentioned, it can be used for in terms of transcoding your video and all that stuff. So I hope we covered a good amount of functions. You want to develop some functionalities, you can try OpenCV. OpenCV is a library which is the name itself is open. So of course it is accessible to everyone. You can incorporate it in your projects. So I had incorporated it in one of my projects. So that's about OpenCV. So these are some names. This is just, you could say, a start to increase or enhance your curiosity in the open source. And I have already given you the organization names which come into picture when we talk of open source. The journey is big. It will take a lot of time to explore open source, because there are endless possibilities, humongous functionalities that come into picture. But these are the names which will show up whenever you start with open source. So that's it. And now we will be entering into the quiz mode. But before that, I would like to see if there are any more doubts. So we are in the last 10 minutes of the session now. We would be concluding it in around maximum 10 minutes from now. Can you share the PPT in our group for a reference? I would suggest I will be sharing the recording of this session. So that would be beneficial for you instead of the PPT, because it's very heavy to share the presentation right now. Any more doubts apart from that? Most welcome, Sangarsh. Yes. I just don't want it to be like a presentation session. That's why I kept some live action also in between. Now we'll be starting on with the quiz. So are we ready for the quiz? I would like to see a quick yes in the chat section so that I can give you the rules for the quiz. I see Gireja, yes. Bhavik, yes. Purva, yes. Super, fine. So let's start with the quiz. The round is simple. I will have only 5 questions. I'll be putting the screen on now. I'll just share the screen and keep it open for you. What you have to do, you have to serially write the answers and put it in the chat section. That is 1 dot whatever the answer is, 2 dot whatever the answer is. No need to type questions, no need to write. Yeah, that's it. Perfect, Bhavik. 1 dot and like whatever the answer is. Okay. I want all the answers in just a single message. I don't want separate messages for every answer. Okay. That's one thing. Secondly, whoever does it first will be considered winner. Okay. So complete transparency, no cheating, and I know that you won't get time to Google it out because it will be very fast. Okay. So are we set? Can I see some yes in the chat? Any doubts? Okay, cool. Let's start. I'm just presenting my screen for now. Be ready, guys. 5 questions coming up all together. You have to answer all the answers in just a single message. You only get 1 minute to answer all the 5 questions. And here we go. Okay, super. Okay. Let me assess. So we have Abdut, the first one to answer. He says Richard Stallman, OpenVPN, LibreOffice, false and poor. Abdut, superb job. You answered at 12:13. I would want you on camera if possible. Fantastic job, my friend. Second, we have Purva, Richard, OpenVPN, LibreOffice, false and 4. Perfect. Purva, superb. First one, Shivam, you missed the first one. We wanted all 5. So Avdhut and Purva, you are the winners for now. Let's see the next one in the order. That's Prakash. Prakash says Richard Stallman. Super. So Prakash is the third one. Taina, you got the 3 names, right?
Yes.
Super. So now, guys, I hope I could give you something incredible in terms of technology, in terms of open source. And I will have this as a question answer round. Let me just conclude the presentation so that we keep it like an open mic ahead. All right. So just the last part, in case if someone wants to verify, these were the answers. All right. And lastly, I've had some references because not everything is available in terms of, you say, on Wikipedia regarding open source. So we have to refer some journals and all. For this presentation, for this whole session, I went through some blogs, Wikipedia, documentation, of course. And that's the whole thing. On the right, you would see the Delta the Innovators. That's my organization where we work on to creating, you say, innovative products. We help education, we promote education, and we are believing in open source technologies. We promote open source technologies. So that's about Delta the Innovators. And I would like to specially thank SIGCE Hack Club for organizing and managing this event so well. In case you want to know more about the complete work, what I do, you can just surf onto my LinkedIn profile. It's just Shubham Dumbre. And if you want to see the website, you can just visit Delta the Innovators. So that's it. And thank you for being a very lovely audience so that I could interact a lot. And I really enjoyed the way you guys asked questions and all. It was a very good interaction. In case you want to know the profile, it's here. So just we can connect here on LinkedIn in case you have any doubts. So the name is Shubham Dumbre. All right. Coming back, now let's open it for discussion in case if there are any doubts or queries. And before going, please don't leave the meeting. I would like to have some snaps for today so that people in our status, like on our social media handles and all, could see that, yeah, we had a wonderful learning today. So any questions? I would like to see those in the chat section now. Yeah, thanks a lot, Siddhi, for sharing the LinkedIn. And guys, if possible, please read something about open source, explore open source. It's a very, you say, big thing. We could not cover it all in the single 1 or 2 hour session, but yes, it's big. In case you want to explore more, get in touch with me or anyone who is in open source, and we can create something good. for the betterment of society. All right. And if one more addition, in case you want to have in-depth knowledge of all these all these things which we covered, I have my own series that's on Delta the Innovators YouTube channel. So you can just go on YouTube and search Delta the Innovators. On that, you would find individual session on all the topics. So for example, if we talk about VPN, there's a complete dedicated session to VPN. In case you want to learn more about open source user technologies, there's a complete dedicated session there. So you can just search Delta the Innovators on YouTube, and you can have a look at all the videos and all the live sessions which we had till now. All right, that was one addition. That was a very good addition, Rajas. I was about to say that. Guys, I would request you to kindly fill in the feedback form right away. And then we will have a click of today's session. We will have a good photograph. For 2 minutes, I would request all of you to just turn on the cameras so that we have it as a snap, as a memory. And then we can conclude the session. In between, if you have any doubts, you can ask. No problem.
First of all, Shubham, thank you so much. Like, it was a really fruitful session. Even I enjoyed it. So, and the second thing is the top 3 winners of our quiz. Please drop in your mail ID in the chat box so that we can provide you with appreciation certificates.
Super. I really appreciate the Hack Club taking so much of effort, and you see that we came up with the idea probably on Monday or Tuesday, I remember. Tanaya, Siddhi, and Rajas were in touch, and it worked out. So I hope it was a worthy interaction. I could give you something that could boost your learning, and we went ahead. Special thanks to Tanaya. She's my schoolmate, so she was the one who initiated this all. Thanks, Tanaya. And
Thanks to you, actually. I know your schedule is quite busy. Still, you took time for us.
That's all right. That's all right. It's good to connect with communities. I used to have this like in a live manner previously, but due to pandemic, we all are like on the digital mode. But it's fine. The ultimate idea is to share knowledge. So, are we ready to come on the camera for a minute, not just a second, or people will just turn on and turn off? So, just come on camera for a minute. Hosts, if you can just click some snaps. Yeah. Super. Thank you.
I hope you all might have enjoyed today's workshop. This workshop proves to be a small step to fly high to accomplish your dreams on your own. So thank you, Shubham, for a wonderful workshop.
Most welcome. Guys, again, a reminder, please fill in the feedback forms and whatever inputs you have. Probably if you are expecting something more, not on this topic, but on some other tech topic or some other management topic, we can again connect and like work on it together. There is Hack Club to organize wonderful events ahead for you. And probably if possible, me or someone else will help you in like understanding and carrying out the learning journey ahead. All right. I am sharing my mail ID in case you wanna say something on the mail or have any project ideas, we can collaborate. Yes, Ravi Shankar. Hi.
You all can contact him via his LinkedIn ID, or else you can mail him.
Yeah. And please do not forget to tag SIGC Hack Club, if possible me, and FOSS communities so that it becomes like a collaborative effort altogether. Thank you, Sangarsh. Feels good to see you like the session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.